Hi everyone. So the next thing I want to talk about is the MDMA ceremony that I did to bring up old traumatic memories from childhood. So when I was at the Imagine Festival, I went to that panel about psychedelic assisted psychotherapy and learned all of the different tools they're using to help with PTSD, and that includes LSD, psilocybin, cannabis, ketamine, lots of different things they're using now. And the thing that they found to be the most helpful actually is MDMA. And MAPS, the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies, has been doing countless studies with PTSD victims and MDMA therapy. And what they've found is that the results are, even 1 year later, the patients are still experiencing the benefits of the therapy. So it's showing that it's proven to be a long-term effective treatment for PTSD. And they're using primarily people with PTSD from the Vietnam War. And this is huge because it's been very difficult to treat PTSD, and the MDMA therapy has been very successful. So I read a lot about it. I found some therapists who were doing this type of therapy. I talked to them on the phone. I met with 2 of them in person, and I couldn't actually go forward with doing the therapy in person with any of the therapists because I was mobile at this time. I was traveling a lot, and I had to be still for a long period of time in order to do the therapy over like a prolonged period of time. And it was also very expensive to do the therapy. So what I did is I just wrote out my intentions with the therapy, my intentions with the session, did a lot of meditating on the subject, and asked my partner at the time to help facilitate a session for me. And we were out in Moab, Utah, and found a sacred ceremonial site, and hiked out there, just 2 of us, with the intention of having our own MDMA ceremony, just using our own research that we did on the subject. And so we went out, we opened the space, I collected some tree branches and some offerings for the altar, and we said some prayers and talked about the intention. And then I took a dose of MDMA and just laid down. I had a journal that had like all the questions that I wanted to answer and all the things I wanted to talk about during the session. And these things were questions and work and stuff that I had brought up from years and years of therapy. So I think the MDMA session is not something that can be done on its own. It's like a great tool in conjunction with other therapy. You know, I had been in therapy for 6 years at this time, and I knew exactly what I wanted to go to, because I knew the places that were really difficult for me to get to in therapy that the MDMA would help me dig into. So I had a list based on the last 6 years or so of therapy, and I was very clear in like what I wanted out of this ceremony. So I gave him the journal with the questions, and he sat next to me and asked me the questions, and as I spoke, he recorded what I wrote. And what I found for me is that I was able to go to some really scary, really terrible, really traumatic memories of some pretty horrific abuse, and I was able to talk through it, and I was able to go there with a lot less fear. And that's the way that MDMA works. It actually inhibits activity in the amygdala, which is the part of the brain that controls the fear response. And so someone with PTSD, when that memory comes up, there's so much fear in the body, fear in the mind, fear around that the brain can just shut it down. Like, the brain is very good at protecting itself. So with MDMA, I'm able to go to those painful, traumatic, fearful memories and experience them with love, and experience them with compassion, and experience it with a little bit of gentle kindness and not so much fear. And so what I was able to do is kind of, really like dig up a lot of old memories that were right there on the surface, and I had scratched the surface of them. And I was able to go back and relive a lot of that stuff and dig up a lot of the stuff I was looking for. And it was extremely gentle. And having a person there you trust is very important. Having the intention set is very important. Having the outline, I think, is very important. So we spent about 4 hours out there, and then after we were finished, we just wrapped up, closed the space, said a prayer of gratitude, and went on our way. And I did a lot of work afterwards for years of trying to integrate what I learned and also release a lot of what I brought up, and I'll talk more about my work with that. But this MDMA ceremony, I think it was like one of the most helpful tools in my process of therapy. So if you have any questions or comments or anything, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you.